guys! I feel like it doesn't look like I did my hair, but I promise I did. Don't judge me. Okay, so I wanted to start out by saying that I got this idea from a podcast that I watch. They're called Ladies and Tangents. They're really funny. They're really great. It's two ladies, Jerry and Sierra, and they are awesome gals. You can watch them on YouTube, on their podcast, or you can watch them on TikTok. That's where I found them. So you should go look them up. They're pretty cool. This is going to be a sensitive video. It's going to be a topic on emotional and physical abuse, mostly surrounding emotional abuse. Um, so if that is something that is sensitive for you, I don't want you to feel like you have to watch this. Feel free to click off. I understand. Sorry, my shoulder's itchy. Um, but yeah, your mental health is the most important thing, so do what you have to do. As well, I did want to say that I'm going to be referring to the guy that I'm talking about this whole time because I am talking about my ex mainly through this video to give some personal experiences and reflections, and I'm going to call him Max because I'm not going to say his real name. And I also want to say that he is a good guy. There are no hard feelings towards him. It's been quite some time since we've been together, and I also came out since we broke up, so I have no hard feelings towards him. The toxicity in our relationship, I think, was solely based off of the fact that well, maybe not solely, I'm sure there were plenty of issues, but based on the fact that we were both young and we were both still maturing and we didn't know how to communicate properly, and I think that resulted in a pretty toxic relationship, unfortunately. Um, Also, we did date 3 separate times. I'm just going to be talking about the one time that we dated, the last and final time. Meanwhile, we did date in middle school and sophomore year of high school, but this last time we dated, we were in the same grade. Um, we were going to be seniors, so it was a summer from junior year to senior year. I think we started dating a little bit in junior year. I was 17 at the time and he was 18 at the time. So we were both pretty young. It was both like our first serious relationship. I was just newly 17, so I wasn't that old, and he was newly 18, so he wasn't that old either. Um, Oh, I did want to say that I am just touching on this topic because of the fact that I feel I have some maybe red flags that you can notice if you find yourself in a relationship like one that I'm describing or something similar to it. Just know that I don't know how to prevent these relationships. I can't tell you how to change somebody to fit the relationship that you want or how to get them to stop being the way that they are, because you can't change people. You just have to kind of realize that you're in a relationship or a situation where it's not the best or the most healthy, and eventually I think we come to the realization that it's time to leave. Me and this guy basically grew up together. Like I said, we did date 3 separate times, so I knew him pretty well. Like, I had met his family a couple of times before we started dating for the last time, and so I was kind of already closer familiar with his family, and things were really, really good in the beginning of our relationship the last time. Uh, Especially probably for the first 6 months, I would say that we had quote unquote like the perfect relationship. But that's not to say that there weren't red flags that I didn't really realize were red flags, honestly, until the situation arose where I was like, well, I don't really have X, Y, or Z because I've isolated myself. And I mean, obviously, it wasn't just my fault, but I did play a part in it because I didn't realize the red flags, and I don't want to say that I should have, because I don't think that it's the easiest thing, especially whenever you're blinded by the emotions and the infatuation that you feel for the other person. So if you find yourself in this situation, it is not your fault. Um, these things happen, and I don't want to play it off like it's not a big deal, but unfortunately, these things do happen, and all we can do is try to find tools to overcome these situations and hopefully get away before the situation turns dire. I would say that things started to get, he slowly started to become more upfront and just very blatantly honest, I guess, and things that made me feel little, and he would call me names and call me stupid, tell me that like I wasn't that as pretty as other girls. That was something that he would always do, was always point out things on other girls that he thought was attractive, but obviously like I didn't have those features, or I wasn't as fit or curvy or whatever it may be. I just didn't ever fit what it was that he was pointing out on other girls, which led to a lot of insecurities within myself. We were seniors in high school, and they have like those notable award things, and I was voted for most attractive, which I wasn't expecting that. But you would think that your boyfriend would be excited for you, but no, no, no. He thought that another girl on the list should have won, who I was like up against or whatever. Honestly, I didn't expect to win. Like I didn't think my name would be called. I don't even think that I knew that I was on like the finalist list or whatever. So he thought that the other girl should have won, because thinking of most attractive, it's like who's more sexy or who is curvier or whatever. He said that I was pretty, but that, if it was most attractive, it maybe should have gone to somebody else. Um, Sparked a lot of insecurities that I feel like I still have today, just because, like I've said before, I have had still struggle with an eating disorder that I've had for a very long time, and I don't think that him saying that, I shouldn't have won most attractive was the most helpful thing at the time. And I don't think that he even knew that I had like an eating disorder. So, and of course, that's something I'll talk about at a different video. It's kind of a hard topic to talk about. But of course, I don't think that he knew that this was going on with me. Really, nobody really knows. So here we are. You guys know now. But he would just make comments like that all the time. I remember there was always issues in our relationship revolving around other girls, past girlfriends that he had been with, and there was always like this wall of jealousy, and I was always made to feel insecure about his past exes. And he would tell me how many girls he had like been with and slept with before me. And then, fun fact, he came back around after we had broken up for the last time, and we were not together for probably a year or two at this point. So I was probably like 22 maybe, when he decided to tell me that he actually hadn't slept with anybody before me, and that I was the first one. And so it was a lie, all those other girls that he said that he had been physically intimate with. And that in itself, I still am a bit baffled about that. I don't understand why he would lie about something for 3 years, and especially because it caused so much jealousy and insecurities in our relationship on my end. But I feel as if that maybe was his own way of kind of keeping me in check with my emotions, or like how I'm feeling. and him wanting it to be what he wants and feeling more powerful in the relationship. Because honestly, I think that he thrived on having power, the most power in our relationship, and being the one who called the shots and like pretty much decided how I was going to feel on a day-to-day basis because of the way that he would talk to me or interact with me. And that's not to say that all of our interactions were bad. Like we had good times in our relationship, but when things were not good, they were not good. We would get in yelling matches, and the thing is that he wouldn't yell back. He would just want to leave, or he would ignore me, not talk to me, and he didn't understand that I need communication in order to move past something, and there was no communication. He would just not talk to me. He would go and play soccer with his friends, or he went and stayed with his grandma for like 2 weeks because we did live together the last year that we were together, and he just up and went to his grandma's for 2 weeks. That's toxic behavior. Sorry, Max, but it is. That he's grown a lot since then. I mean, he has a child now, but I will touch on that a little bit later. um, anyways, I did want to talk about the whole controlling aspect. There was a specific time that I remember where Max, I almost just said his real name, where Max um, told me that he enjoys molding people into what he wants them to be. And he told me that he enjoyed molding me into what he wanted me to be because I became more and more like him. Like I was isolated from my friends, but we started to shop at the same places. He would he pushed like him wanting me to dress certain ways and like wanting me to be more feminine or dress more feminine or like he went through this one little phase where he thought that if I posted enough on Instagram and like posted a certain way and dressed a certain way, then I would get enough followers on Instagram and become like Instagram famous or whatever. That's the point, is that he very much was making me into what he wanted me to be, and like I adopted his beliefs, I adopted his morals, his, pretty much his mindset and who he was as a person. I became interested in all the same things that he was interested in because he didn't reciprocate that. It was either I become interested in what he's interested in so that we can have a conversation about things, or we just won't talk about things that we're separately interested in because we don't have those things in common. And it's not like he was willing to really step into the things that I was interested in. And whenever I would bring up things that I was interested in, he would kind of tear those things down and be like, well, you don't have any interests, you don't have any hobbies. And that's not true. I mean, it was true kind of at that moment in time because, like I said, I was not with like hanging out with my friends anymore. I wasn't really spending that much time with my family. Um, a lot of relationships were severed, and a lot of my interests were as well because my my interest became hanging out with him. Like he kind of became my whole life, which is a very unhealthy thing on my end, obviously, and I think that he took advantage of that. So I was unhealthy to myself because I allowed myself to become Max in a sense. Like I did what he wanted me to do, and I became interested in the same things that he was interested in just so that I would be like the perfect girlfriend because I wanted him to give me the attention, and I wanted him to, feel like he could connect with me on things that he felt a lot of passion towards too. And especially towards, after those first 6 months, like our relationship really started to go downhill as far as like intimacy and like as far as just being nice to each other, honestly. Um, there were a couple of times where, we would get in such bad arguments that like I I literally felt like nothing inside, and I didn't know how to handle that, and I was living with him at the time, and so having to separate yourself and go into a separate room or something because I had nowhere to go. I didn't want to leave the apartment. I couldn't go to see my dad. My dad didn't like him. He didn't like my dad. Max also did not like my sister. The only person that he really liked was my mom, and she only visited, from time to time, coming back from the Netherlands. So really, I did not have anybody to talk to, but he had his whole family and all of his friends, which were the people that I was integrated with now. And his family was basically my family, and his friends were my friends. But at the same time, they had a loyalty to him and not to me. His family and his friends, they're obviously going to pick his side over mine, whether he's right or wrong. Doesn't matter, you're going to be there for the person that you have the most loyalty to at the end of the day. And that person was not me. And that's okay because, the with the situation, I wouldn't expect, or at least how I feel now and being older and looking back on it, I wouldn't expect his friends or his family to be there for me when he's going through a shitty time in a relationship. It was very isolating. I was crying almost every day. We were fighting almost every day. It came to a point where, like I said, he did go to his grandmother's house for 2 weeks, I believe, and he barely spoke to me, would not return my phone calls. Um, we had just gone through something pretty traumatic right before he left for those 2 weeks, and that is something that I probably will hold on to for maybe the rest of my life. I have no idea. I still have some hard feelings about that situation, which I'm not really going to get into, but it was a very hard time for me personally, and I felt very alone during this time. After that, he left for 2 weeks, and what happened was he said that he didn't cheat on me. I don't believe it. Like, I just can't see it. I'm sorry, but I just can't. This is as much as I know, is that he went to the movies with this girl that he had mentioned like maybe a year or two prior to this situation happening, that this was the girl, because we both went to middle school with her. But he said that this was the girl that got away and that he never got a chance to try things out with, and he thinks that he should have gotten that chance or whatever. And he told me this like right smack dab in the middle of our relationship, and I was just supposed to get over it and pretend like he didn't say that. It caused a really big fight. But, anyways, fast forward like a year or two, and he went to the movies with this girl while he wasn't talking to me. He went to the movies with this girl, and then he came back to the house and he told me about going to the movies with this girl and then told me that he wanted to break up. And so, of course, with me being so enveloped in him and still thinking that, well, we've invested so much time and so much of my energy and so much of my emotional well being has gone into this relationship, and it has left me to a point where I was desperate desperate for our relationship to work. I was desperate to be happy with him because I knew in my head, like, I kept reverting back to, well, the beginning of our relationship was great. Like, why can't we just go back to that? And I don't have the answer for that because I don't know why, but I do know that people need time, I guess, to grow if you're in a relationship where this maybe something similar to this happened whenever you're younger. You can't change the person at that time. I think that that's what I was looking for so much. I was thinking, well, if Max just matured a little bit, if I just gave him a little bit more time, then he would realize that I'm a good girlfriend and that I've been here this whole time. I have supported him and X, Y, and Z, and I would try to rationalize it in my head, but he was not ready to grow up at that point. I felt like I was, even though I wasn't. I still had a lot of stuff to learn. I still do. But he wasn't ready, and you can't push somebody to be ready to be in a serious relationship, especially not when you're that young. If somebody's not ready, they're not ready. And honestly, it worked out for the best because I am gay. Yeah, we broke up. Well, he broke up with me and he went and dated this other girl, and they have been together ever since. They have been together ever since. I left to go to the Netherlands to go get some time away, and which was also hard because I was working for Max's aunt at the time. So I quit that job. Quit that job, went to the Netherlands, and got tried to get over him, which happened honestly pretty quickly. And I think that that's how I knew that really our relationship was not healthy because we were toxic to each other the whole time we were together. And ultimately, I was in the Netherlands for 2 weeks after we broke up. And ultimately, we both moved on really quickly. Like, I didn't get in another relationship, but I found myself not being really sad over our relationship ending, but more so the relationships with his family ending, just because his family really, truly, well, his mom specifically, really, really took me in and, was pretty much my second mom for years. Well, years, a couple of years, because my mom had moved to the Netherlands. And so I would hang out with her even without Max. I would go and hang out with her and um, play with Max's little sister because he had a little sister at the time. Well, still does, but she was a lot littler back then. Um, but yeah, so I mourned more so the relationships with his family ending and not so much with him because I think I was holding on so much to the relationship because I craved that feeling of family so much because his family is huge and there was always something going on, always something to do, always people to hang out with, and I was missing that in my family. And so I was really upset whenever that happened, but ultimately got over him pretty quickly, to be honest with you. And it worked out for the better. Honestly, I couldn't be happier with being out and proud and gay and loud. Wow, that was funny. And I've got a awesome girlfriend of almost 3 years now. Our 2 years, well, almost 3 years, 2 years and 7 months will be this Friday on the 17th. So that's exciting. And yeah, I do want to say that if anybody is going through a hard time right now, I know that you can't really always choose when to leave. And I know that that sounds weird to say because, you're your own person and obviously you can choose for yourself to do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. But our brains work so well against us sometimes. After things are being said to you enough times, you start to believe it. So, with my ex telling me, like, that I wasn't as pretty as other girls, or that, I wasn't as attractive, or whatever it may be, that I wasn't as smart, like, made me feel like I was pretty much lucky to be with him because who else would want me? If I was all of these things that he was saying, then why am I so upset in a relationship whenever obviously I've got somebody that, is pointing out all of these negatives about me, but at the same time, he's still with me. So why would I go and try to date somebody else whenever I've got somebody who's still with me in spite of all of these things that he's saying is wrong with me? It's a manipulative tactic, but it works, and the brain is very, very powerful and very good at tricking you and very good at manipulating you into believing what you've been told for so long. And then whenever you finally break out of that relationship, no matter how long or how hard it is to do so, you the shock. Like, honestly, I did not even realize it, but whenever I got into another relationship or whenever I first started dating women, like, I was floored at the difference between what my relationship was with someone before and then what it can look like on the other side of things. And it almost didn't feel like reality, like another too good to be true moment, but honestly, it's not too good to be true. These relationships exist, and you're not always gonna be in the best situation. Ignore that. You can always be in the best situation if you choose to be. I think that's pretty much it. You got this. You can get through this. If you have any questions, if I didn't answer something that you wanted to be answered, if you have any questions about toxic relationships, please leave them in the comments down below. I apologize that this video was so stinking long, because it is long. Hopefully I can trim it down a little bit. But anyways, yeah. You guys have a great rest of your day. Stay happy, stay healthy. Bye.